And number 43, Tristan Chapin, defender.
Good evening, lacrosse fans, and welcome to Spring Lake Park High School, where tonight the hometown Panthers welcome in the Roseville Raiders for the third game of the season. John Adden and Bill Hutt glad to be with you this evening on North Metro TV. The Panthers enter 0-2. The Raiders are 1-1. Teams being announced on the field. And for me, Bill, this is the first spring event, so I'm just excited that we're back out here for spring, even though it feels the wrong side of spring, like a little nicer weather. How are you feeling coming into tonight's game?
Well, it's not the most pleasant weather, but lacrosse can be played in all kinds of weather, and we've got a beautiful stadium here at Panthers Stadium. The field looks great, so artificial turf knows no mud, as they say. Yep. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup tonight. Roseville, their goalie, got hurt in the first game of the season. They're giving up 10.5 goals a game, but they're also scoring 11. So the Raiders should be a pretty up and down, fast-paced game of lacrosse. SLP has played a tough schedule in the early going and has started 0-2, as you said. So it'll be interesting to see how they defend their home turf tonight.
Just odd to be here almost after no spring season a year ago. So it's been 2 years since we've covered lacrosse, and it's been 2 years, minus the first couple of games for these guys having played lacrosse. And for some of them, this season will be their first real action, because lacrosse is kind of a unique spot in high school sports where it gets a number of people that just come out for the first time ever, maybe as juniors or seniors, and just athletes at other sports that want to do something fun during the spring.
It is a fast and physical, fun game. You get a lot of football players, a lot of hockey players, a lot of players from other sports that just want to stay in shape during the spring season, and this is a great way to do it.
So we're ready for the opening draw. Spring Lake Park in the home whites, black for the Roseville Raiders. Parker Pedersen, the junior, ready to face off for Roseville. Looks like Owen Spencer on the other side for Spring Lake Park.
Parker will be hoping to win this draw and get it to his twin brother Lincoln on the attack for the Raiders.
It is not secured early, now scooped up on the move by Spring Lake Park. Panthers come away with it thanks to Dean Romaker. He heads right in, then tries to toss it off in front. I'm not sure if that was a pass or a shot. Didn't really go anywhere, just sort of dribbled out into the goaltender, who scoops it up.
I think it was a shot. It just fell out of his cross, as it's known, and so harmless ultimately for the netminder.
Here's Colin Sundeen with it on the far side in the black uni. Leaves it back out for Bjorn Anderson, the senior, letting the offense set up. I'm glad to have Bill, who played lacrosse in his day with a little more expertise, but one of the most fun things that I love is watching the set plays. And when I tell people about lacrosse, I always say it, from a strategy standpoint, it always reminds me more of basketball than anything else, because you can possess the ball so cleanly and you run picks in all sorts of situations, get something open. Turnovers back and forth, Roseville back on the attack.
Comfortable save there for Spring Lake Park, and you're exactly right. It has some thematic elements of hockey where you can go behind the goal, but also the strategy of basketball with screen plays. And then it's got some of its own unique rules, of course, where you can follow up and whoever's closest to the shot after it goes wide. So you always want to have backup on the back end of the goal. So definitely a lot of intricacies of the game.
Sure. Here, third shot on, and finally a goal. Roseville gets on the board, and Tyler Novotny with the score. The junior makes it 1-0 Roseville after Chris Curtis had made 2 saves early on. Roseville draws first blood with 10:25 to go in the first.
Beautiful fake by Novotny, completely fooled the Spring Lake Park goaltender Chris Curtis, and then it was just all alone, and that was it. And those stick fakes, if you can do them, quick like that, you can really get a goaltender moving. And especially if you're as open as Novotny was on the doorstep, it really makes it difficult for the goaltender. They say you have to be kind of crazy to play goalie in lacrosse anyway, with how few padding and how hard the ball is. But at least the Panthers are winning draws.
Yeah, for the second time now, Owen Spencer's team comes away with it. This time he collected it cleanly. Here, handing it back to Walker Zeman.
Well, Spencer still got it.
And he'll bring it in from the near side, back out. Substitutions coming, and now onto the field. Ethan Ose, midfielder, grabs it. He'll swing it around to the far side. Picked up there by Leighton Long.
Yeah, the offense waits until its first or second or third line is out there, and you always start on the face-off with some specialists. So you basically wait once you get possession and you're in the box. You basically wait for the other people to join on the fly.
Here, a hard whip shot that goes wide, a little too tall maybe as well, and covering up on the backside was Long. So off the miss by Blake Lueck, possession stays with Spring Lake Park.
Blake Lueck, an outstanding hockey player, one of the top scorers in the Northwest Suburban Conference this past year.
Here at the long stick, moving his way up in a hurry is Will Reiser. Reiser trying to pass it off. Now a lot of physicality as the ball's loose on the ground. Finally a whistle comes. Possession will stay with Roseville.
Reiser is what's known in lacrosse as a long stick midi. So you've got 3 defenders with long poles, and then Reiser plays a long stick midi and kind of goes all over the field. Although he seems to be retreating back today, at least, in that left defense position.
Here charging up is Bjorn Anderson. He gets it right to the front. Shot, goal! Another one for Novotny, and a great feed that time from Anderson. But Novotny finishes right on the doorstep.
And he got plastered as he scored that goal, so there's a flag down. They'll have man up to start things after their second goal. But again, Novotny just all alone on the doorstep. Where is that second slide? It's known as the second slide in lacrosse, where the first player comes up to draw, because it all starts with number 24, Bjorn Anderson, beating the defense at the top, and then he draws the defender. Well, you've got to have a guy coming over from the weak side and picking up. Otherwise, it's Novotny's man who's been covering him, who comes up to take Anderson and prevent a shot from him. Anderson wisely gives it up. It's kind of like drive and kick in basketball is the easiest way to explain it. And Novotny has, again, patiently gotten 2 goals by just using stick fakes on the doorstep.
First draw won by Roseville, kind of a wild one, and the Raiders now come back on the attack, leading 2-0. Parker Pedersen with it. He hands it back out to the top. This is Carter Morgan, the senior, waiting for the substitutions to come. Now the offense looks to be set. This is Anderson from the point. Passes it off to the new man on the field. He'll feed it inside. Now a shot, and that one stopped on the attempt by Lincoln Pedersen off that feed from Garrett Marr. Back on the ball before it gets to midfield is Bjorn Anderson.
I like how spaced Roseville is offensively. They really seem to run their stuff, and they share the ball well.
Marr, yeah, good passing. Here, the pass went through the man they were looking for. It looked like they wanted to go to Novotny again, but it's Colin Sundeen, the sophomore on the backside, who gets the goal.
Well, you're seeing right now, John, why this offense averages 11 goals a game. They've already got 3 in the first 4 minutes of this first quarter, and it's because their attack is just goal line extended, as it's known in lacrosse, just on goal line extended, and they're just sharing the ball unselfishly, and SLP defensively is just getting caught out of position and not reacting. So just like in hockey, there's puck watching, there can be ball watching in lacrosse. It's the same principle. And the defense, like in basketball, really has to be moving on a string and cohesive together in order for it to work. Because if you have a breakdown, that could lead to problems, as it has for the Panthers.
Spencer heads upfield quickly after winning the draw. His shot on misses wide, but possession will stay with Spring Lake Park. Panthers looking for that first goal as they trail 3-0. On the far side, Leighton Long has control.
And just like in hockey, strategically, you know how sometimes they'll have 2 guys below the goal and then feed out front to cutters? Same thing in lacrosse. And then you're forcing the defense to keep their heads on a swivel and be aware of who's behind them and not just ball watch when it's behind the goal.
Here, pass intended for Spring Lake Park's Graham Tuck Fowler is stolen away, and moving to the other end of the field is Ian Mecklem. Mecklem, the junior, carries up and a goal quickly for Roseville.
Tyler
Novotny it on. Whew. 3 already for Novotny.
A hat trick in the first quarter, in the first half of the first quarter, no less. 7:26 still to play, and he's not going to find it much easier than that. But Spring Lake Park's got to do something to adjust. And they do have a player in the box as well on a knee. in a goalie Chris Curtis.
Yep.
Yeah. So you have the backup netminder in right now. You know, as if they needed more of a challenge. But again, Spencer just keeps winning these draws to himself.
And yet nothing comes of it, right? Really quickly, this ball lost off a shot, picked up and heading the other direction is Bjorn Anderson once more. Anderson's pass intercepted. Heading upfield is Long. Long trying to get in tight. Here, give and go. Kind of got it back and could not connect. Stonewalled that time by Braden Hubert, excuse me. Another feed out front. Spring Lake Park can't get a clean shot away. Scooped up by Roseville.
Oh, good track back from behind. And again, it's another hockey similarity. There's back checking, of course, in lacrosse as well. So a lot of times it is just teams that hustle and effort as Roseville gets another goal.
They're just every time they get down to that end of the field, they just put it right in. So Lincoln Pedersen, the junior, with his first of the day.
Yeah, they're scoring in transition, John, and that's the thing, is they're not even having to really work on the offensive end. They're just scoring in transition as soon as they get into the offensive zone. So obviously that means that SLP is disorganized in some way and not sliding quickly enough and not picking up the guys, not being aware of the guys, the attackers, because I think every single one of their goals are from their attack. So that says something. They're not firing in lasers from outside. They're scoring, you know, right close to goal.
It's 5-0, sixth draw won by Spring Lake Park, and this is kind of an oddity. I'm not used to seeing a team win every single draw, basically, all but one so far, and not be able to do anything offensively, get steamrolled on the other end. It's a 5-0 game. We haven't gone 90 seconds in this game without Roseville scoring a goal.
No, yeah, it's been an onslaught from the start. Now, there is a hold on Roseville, so first mistake really of the game on Bjorn Anderson. He'll take a knee in the box, and Spring Lake Park will go on the EMO, which is definitely a lacrosse-specific term, and probably their best opportunity to claw one back.
Extra man advantage?
Extra man opportunity.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Ball played around the far side, now up to the top. Spencer gets it, leaves it back out, left. Feed back to left at the top. Spencer in the hash marks. Kind of working around the outside, but not a lot of action. Nobody flashing hard in towards the goal.
Yeah, they're not really forcing any slides because they're not dodging, although they get the goal there. Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer with the worm burner there goes low and just burns it past Braden Hubert. So the Panthers are on the board. It's a 5-1 score.
Well, Owen Spencer has had himself a game. He's won, I believe, 4 face-offs or 5 face-offs. He might be 5 of 6 at the face-off position as he jogs back out there to take another one. And he's got the lone goal today. And they didn't have any movement, but with these turf fields, the strategy is you want to use that bounce shot as much as possible because it does take kind of a funny hop, and it can skip along that turf. And right there, the Roseville goalie, who is not their regular goalie, of course, as we talked about, Will Reiser, Braden Hubert, a midfielder turned goalie. He came up expecting it to take more of a bounce, and it stayed low. And it went 5-0 only, and Roseville scored. And a lot of times on these draws, when they don't win them, it's because of a technical penalty like that. In this case, a false start.
Here, quick shot. Hit some traffic on the way in. That was Colin Sundeen looking for his second. Sundeen now fighting for control once again. He does recover. Nice job to chase down that ball.
Yeah, effort plays like ground balls can be so critical.
Here, ball given to Novotny at the front. He takes the shot. Goal! 4 for Novotny.
Matt Novotny avoids the check. He ducks the shoulder underneath the attempted check of the defender, as you can see here. He gets the pass. Sundeen wins the draw, or wins the ground ball. And then Novotny ducked under the attempted check, and Spring Lake Park's going to take a timeout to talk about things.
Break comes with 5:18 remaining here in the first. Again, it is a 6-1 game. The first 5 goals scored by Roseville, 3 of them from Novotny. Now it's a 6-1 score. Novotny's got 4 goals all told. And we have a long, long ways to go in this game that has been, again, from a scoring perspective, dominated by Roseville. And from a face-off perspective, dominated by Spring Lake Park. And let's talk about Owen Spencer and his effort, because you called it out. What a great day that he is having so far. The face-off is usually such a critical part of this game, and usually a great indicator of who's doing well. If you're winning face-offs, you're usually having a pretty good game, and yet we're having the opposite from a team perspective right now, where Spring Lake Park is winning the face-offs, but not the game.
Yeah, in lacrosse, it can be like make it, take it, right? Because you can score, win the face-off, come down, score, win the face-off, so on and so forth. Obviously, very difficult for a team to come back if they can never get the ball.
Yeah.
And so what is happening with the Panthers, though, and the reason why the face-offs aren't really mattering is it's kind of one shot and done. It's either being saved, and then it's transition opportunity the other way, or they're turning it over because there's an errant pass that goes out of bounds, or they're not backing up a shot and stuff, and that's turning it over. So the winning the face-off is obviously one key component, but then you have to be able to possess, and that's something that SLP has yet to be able to do tonight.
So that was going to be my follow-up question. Where do we put the onus for what's happening? It doesn't seem to me that the backup goaltender is a diamond in the rough necessarily that's dominating. How much is the defense from Roseville so far versus the lack of set plays and making things happen for the Spring Lake Park offense? I
mean, it's as simple as Spencer pops it to himself once more and wins another draw for the Panthers, but it's as simple as they are just not as sort of crisp and polished on offense. They're not possessing as well as they need to be. They're not popping it around, and they're not as sharp executionally as Roseville is. Roseville is making that one or two pass, and then bang, it's in the goal, and it's not happening. A perfect example right there.
Yep.
Pass is behind the cutter, goes out of play. It's ruled a pass as it should have been, and it's now back in the possession of the Raiders. Now for Spring Lake Park to not let this get too far away from them, they have to either force turnovers like this on the clear, and pretty soon they're going to be on the clock, and they'll turn it over because of the clock, like as in basketball.
Yep. So Spring Lake Park does fight to get possession, and Long will control on the far side.
Oh, yep. And or they have to make Roseville work on the offensive end.
Here, a shot that goes wide on the attempt by Dean Romacher. And then possession will stay with Spring Lake Park.
And if you're Roseville, you're happy with them taking shots from out there. I know Spencer scored out there, but that is a pretty low percentage shot when you compare it to the kinds of looks that Roseville is getting on this end, obviously.
Ball leaks out towards the top. No one has it. Tracked down. Long trying to recover it clean. Now he's got it. Under some duress from Will Reiser. And it's pushed back out to Spencer. Spencer charging from the point. Looking to move to his left. Passes it off. Given to Long. Long will wind up. His shot stopped in front. Nice job by the goaltender, and Hubert gets the save.
I mean, in a very similar way to hockey, there's no traffic in front, so he's not screened. He sees it all the way. It's like shots from the point, constantly in hockey.
This pass a little too tall for the long stickman, and it's recovered on the far side by Colin Sundeen.
Sundeen just spins away from two Panthers there, gets a touch, and then retreats back and waits for the cavalry to come.
Well, there's only two sophomores on the varsity roster. He's one of them. And the other is Will Reiser, who we've talked about plenty as well. Now this is Bjorn Anderson. Anderson still going. Now scoops a pass off. Handed cleanly to Pedersen. Lincoln loses control of the ball. And it's scooped up by Spencer. Spencer looked like he was going to give it off. And he did. Goaltender Chris Curtis has it.
What's interesting is they don't operate with somebody at X. They have all three attackmen on the goal line extended, but it has not seemed to matter because they're not exactly firing rockets from distance.
Julian Packard-Rao had a man ahead, didn't see him cleanly enough, but Blake Lueck was way upfield early on there. Now it's possessed behind the net by Tucker Anderson. He'll give it out to Long on the far side, up to Spencer at the top.
And you want the ball in this man's stick if you can, as much as possible.
He'll take the shot. Spencer trying to bounce it in, hit traffic right in front. So scooped up by his teammate. This is Henry Leff on the attack. Kind of a weak bleeder, gets past the goaltender behind the net. Diving on top of it is Hubert and trying to get clean control. Kicked to a teammate. Long will give it to Spencer at the top. Feet inside, deflected Now scooped up by Left. He retreats behind the net.
Oh.
Left leaves a man on the ground and then takes a shot that deflects out of play. 1:45, we've gone almost 3 minutes. No, 3.5 minutes without a goal for either side. It is still a 6-1 game.
Much like with hands up in basketball on defense, they always preach to have sticks up.
Okay.
Sticks in the passing lane because you want to deflect passes, and that's exactly what happened there on that shot.
Ball controlled by Spring Lake Park. Trying to whittle this lead down. And Tucker Anderson giving over to Long. He has some trouble controlling. Long under duress from Will Reiser. And the ball's still loose. Finally, we get a whistle on that far side.
And push with possession. Or no, it might have just gone out on the far side, but it's back in the possession of Roseville.
Roseville has control. Flag thrown behind. And Raiders controlling. This is Macklem. Gives it over to Sundeen. Macklem again. Peterson to Peterson. Feed to the middle. Sundeen shot, deflected away, and ends up out of bounds. Possession to Roseville.
You probably can't hear it on the broadcast, but you'll hear goalies talk about, say who's hot a lot, and defenders say I'm hot, and that is they're identifying who the slide is.
Okay.
So based on where they are in position, they're telling the other defender, they're identifying, they're saying, hey, I will slide if this person beats you to the person who's actually guarding, sort of in the man-to-man way. If that made sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Again, communication in this sport, just like any other, is super key, and goaltender needs to know where the help's coming from.
And now we'll see our first EMO for Roseville. It's very tempting to say EMO opportunity, but that's redundant.
Losing control of it, Roseville. Now they do gain it back thanks to the work of Parker Pedersen. He'll hand it off to Lincoln. Now feed to the middle. Here a shot. Save made. Nice job there by Curtis to get in front of that one.
Another flag down, a high stick, the call, as they were trying to deflect that pass as it came across. So now 2 men in the box for the Panthers. And much like hockey, it's, 5-on-3 or whatever, 6-on-4, and so they'll probably go to a diamond or a box in terms of their formation, but Roseville with a really, really good opportunity.
They haven't needed extra players on the field in order to score earlier, but they have been in a bit of a drought. One of the men is back up and in, so there's only one man kneeling. Here, pass to the front, Sundeen shot, and that one stopped. Able to shut it down once again is Curtis.
Didn't sound like it, but I think that might have even hit the post.
It ended up in his chest in the end, but it did seem like the goal might have moved a bit.
But that right there has turned it back over to the Raiders, still with the extra man.
Here, ball sent out front for Pedersen. That was Lincoln. Now spinning around, given to the top. Parker Pedersen takes the shot, and that one, good for a goal.
As
it
time
came right
expired.
after the goal, after the horn came, I believe. Nope, they're saying it was before. The goal is good.
Technically, it's when it leaves the man's stick, I believe. So that's why they would have allowed that goal as time expired. But kind of a perfect way for Roseville to end the half, or end the quarter, rather. I wasn't sure if they were going to keep it because you can retain possession if you have the extra man into the next quarter. But ultimately, they decided to shoot it late, and they were rewarded.
Well, the score works nicely. They end the first quarter up 7-1. Now a brief break before we get to the second, but interesting kind of finish, right? I mean, this game started all Roseville all the time, and then we get into the latter half of the first quarter, and things slow down for both teams. Roseville gets back on thanks to the EMO at the end of the quarter. Still feels like Roseville's firmly in the driver's seat in this game, but if Spring Lake Park can slow things down, that will help them.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, John. It's it's one of those things where it was a torrent early on, right? 5 goals in like the first 5 minutes, I think.
Yep.
And there seemed to be no answer. Now SLP has kind of settled in, I would say, scored on that extra man opportunity. But I think ultimately they're going to still need Owen Spencer to continue to win faceoffs, and then they're going to need to have some possession because, I mean, it's nice, but it doesn't really matter if he's winning, 90% of the faceoffs, but 1 or 2 passes and they're turning it right back over.
Yep.
So then they're kind of wasting the possession. What would be great for Spring Lake Park is if they could score off those wins, because those are transition opportunities, right? If you win it and you're past your defender, well, all of a sudden you're forcing defenders to slide. You're forcing them to have to. It's a scramble situation, as they call it. And so, that is they don't have to necessarily wait for things to settle and have the midfielders come on. They can try to score quickly in transition off of those face-off wins, and that may be their most effective way to do things offensively here tonight.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because it does seem sort of like that double-edged sword. We've talked about their inability to maintain possession. If you go fast and you shoot quick, you're probably not going to have anyone on the backside to help you out. And then versus, kind of a stagnant, I want to say half-court offense because I keep thinking basketball.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Right now, we haven't seen any part of their offense be super successful, so it's hard to know which way is the way to go against Roseville tonight.
Yeah, but what you could do if you're SLP, you win the draw, and then one of your attackers goes to that X position right behind the goal and prepares in case there is a shot. Sure. You're losing your numbers advantage at that point, but you do have backup in case you want to fire a shot. This one, of course, won by the Raiders after that push, but
I mean, we're seeing no mobility from the attackers. They don't come up, they don't go back. They're just waiting to see what happens. And I agree, if Spencer's going to win 70, 80% of these at a minimum, then I would probably trust him to do so and get yourself set up offensively and try and take advantage of that.
Pretty clear cross-check when the guy's helmet gets knocked clear off. As sitting in the box will be Ethan Ose, the sophomore long stick midi.
So another opportunity for Roseville with the EMO. They got a goal at the end of the first quarter with this situation. Raiders send it out to the point for Ian Macklin. Had Sundeen, didn't go there. Instead, will feed it to the point. Controlled there by Carter Morgan. Morgan trying to hand it off, and this one out of the reach of Bjorn Anderson. It rolls out of bounds. Turnover. Spring Lake Park gets control.
Anderson started to move with, Anderson started to drive, and then his Carter Morgan moved with him, and Anderson thought he was still there. That's why he threw it behind him.
Here, ball out to midfield. Trying to bat it forward for the time being with Spring Lake Park, but it is picked up by back-to-back log stick men. Finally handed off, and good pass by Minori Shadi. It's taken into the front field for Roseville by Bjorn Anderson. Pass towards the front, Sundeen in tight. His shot goes high. Excuse me, that was Lincoln Pedersen missing. Kind of an awkward angle. He was so close at that point.
Yeah, a lot of sharp angles, but they've been scoring from those angles.
Feed to the point. Hand off, Morgan. Oh. And now a good move around. Now another shot from that hard angle. Doesn't go. And real tough sledding for Lincoln Pedersen inside.
What you have to do if you're Curtis there is step into the player and cut down the angle. You don't want to sit back in the goal and let them shoot from there. You want to meet them where their stick is. And if you can do that, it looks awesome, and it's called stoning them. So that's definitely those point-blank opportunities. There is a way to defend them, but
here, pass behind the net is Spring Lake Park trying to be the first team to score here in the second. Ball mishandled in the front and taken away momentarily. Yep, with control, Roseville. A lot of pressure coming anytime the long stick men have the ball. This one passed off and controlled by Carter Morgan. Tries to get it ahead, stolen away, quick shot, and that one misses just wide. Looked like Hubert was there. Not sure how much of the ball he got, but it was towards that far post and does not go in for Spring Lake Park.
And now it's back in the Raiders' possession. And, something we kind of talked about this a little bit in the first quarter, but at the end of the day, it's pretty fundamental. Roseville is just doing a better job of passing and catching the ball. And that's, you know, part of the reason they enjoy such a comfortable lead.
Here, ball given to the near side. Mishandled for a moment by Sundeen. He's able to recover. And the amount of time that these players spend practicing passing, even compared to other sports, it's such a complicated piece of the game, and yet it has to be fundamental. It has to be something you do constantly if you're going to be effective.
Well, and a brick wall can be your friend. That's the thing. They say get on the wall, and that literally just means like go find a brick wall and just hours of just playing catch, both right and left-handed, because you want to be multi-handed.
Here, shot in and a save made. Nice job by Chris Curtis. Curtis, 13 saves on 28 shots in the first game of the season. 8 saves on 18 shots the second game of the season. Here, long pass upfield goes to nobody, and it is just kept in. And then unable to scoop it up cleanly there was Julian Packard-Rao. I didn't think he had any shot at that ball. Then he gets there, and it looks like it's all good, but he can't collect it clean, and eventually Roseville comes away, tries to head the other direction. Pass forward for Noah Manning. He has a little trouble, but recovers and carries into the offensive end.
He might have faced 18 shots in that first quarter. I mean.
Here, pass towards the front. Bouncing ball as Pedersen tries to settle it down. Never got a hold of it, and we get whistles on the play.
Yep, push with possession, so the ball goes back to Spring Lake Park, and game is definitely slowed down. Obviously, no goals in this second quarter quite yet, so.
And really, we went with just one goal in the last 5 minutes and 20 seconds of the first quarter, so it has been much slower for both sides than we had in those opening 5 minutes.
A few more penalties, a little more ragged from both teams. Both teams just trying to establish themselves. It was just Roseville constantly scoring in transition in the early going.
Roseville on the attack right now, gets it to the front. Novotny misses one, and that was the key. 4 goals in the first quarter for Novotny, but this time he's unable to connect.
Yeah, those goals that they were getting in the first quarter rather, they're not getting as much in the second quarter, and part of that is a credit to Curtis.
Curtis between the pipes, watching Sundeen come on. He tries to center a pass, and that one's stolen away by Left. Henry left, feed forward, stolen away by Bjorn. Quick pass to the front, and Curtis able to knock that away from the intended target, Pedersen. Spring Lake Park trying to carry through midfield, loses control, and once again it's Bjorn Anderson for Roseville.
Anderson, a really good quarterback for this Roseville offense. Gets the touch there, waits for support from the box, but yeah, he obviously orchestrated a couple of those goals in the first quarter, just dodging from up top and then finding the man once he drew the defensive slide.
Here, ball given to the front and then pass to nobody. It looks like Anderson on a different page than his team, as that one went to where Lincoln Pedersen had kind of been camped out the last few plays. Far post, and nobody was home that time.
And part of it is that Bjorn Anderson is being guarded by a short stick midi, and short sticks are always going to have a more difficult time, usually I should say, than long poles. And so he's able to beat the short stick, and that forces a long pole to come.
Spring Lake Park got the ball to the front. Blake Lueck looked like he was going to have a chance. Instead, it's stripped away and rolls out of bounds on the far side. Possession staying with Spring Lake Park.
John, did you call any Panthers hockey this year?
I'm sure I called a few, yeah.
Blake Lueck was a treat.
Absolutely.
To watch.
Absolutely.
Play for the Panthers. Sometimes against some of the bigger teams, the main offensive threat for Spring Lake Park.
Panthers bring it around. This is Spencer charging into the fray. Loses control in front, and it is scooped up by Hubert. Possession is going to stay with Spring Lake Park now instead.
Yeah, some chippiness afterwards, and that earns Spring Lake Park the ball back. And that's Spencer trying to go through 4 defenders, which is always challenging to do no matter who you're playing against.
7-1 still the score. It's been the same way since we started this quarter. Here in the second, Spring Lake Park getting the ball towards the front. Here's shot. Goal! Good strike from Blake Lueck.
Goal for Spring Lake Park, number 29, Blake
Lueck going low to high, as it's called, and right there, it was kind of just a floated pass to him cross field, and the defender just let it. Just didn't intercept it. It went right to Lueck. He ducked underneath and just whipped the ball past the goalie. And it's interesting, you see Spencer come over. He's got two different sticks. So he comes over and he grabs his stick for face-offs, which may be one reason why he's not eager to shoot with it, because sometimes the pocket's so pinched, especially if he likes to do that, like to flip it to himself, like which he has, then it may not be a great stick in terms of having that shooting pocket. But you can see a couple of them down on the sideline. So
tough to shoot with, possibly making it tough to pass with as well, because my first thought was, well, then drive upfield and give it to someone else so they can try and make a play. Right. And you can see there, I mean, that was kind of just an underhanded flip so he could get off the field and change sticks. Yep, exactly. And he hops right back on the field once he grabs that other stick. Well, he substituted for himself. Now Spencer, the pass coming towards him, he's able to get his stick on it, but nothing more, and then retreats back to midfield to recover. So Spencer's setting it up. Yeah, having that sort of main midfielder is critical there. He got stuck as he tried to face dodge, or basically go from right to left. Yeah, the juke move didn't work. Now ball played up into the air by Spring Lake Park. Unable to control it cleanly was Romacher. And it's taken away by Roseville. This puck or ball back towards the net. And that one's slipping out on the goaltender. He's able to recover, and here come the Raiders. I like to think of, in terms of from a broadcasting perspective, ground balls being like board battles in hockey. Sure. Here's shot from the front. Novotny with another goal. And that's more of what they were doing in the first half. Novotny had to work a little more for that one than he had for his other goals. But again, on the doorstep, they get it up the field quickly, and they're just a step faster than Spring Lake Park, and Novotny finishes again. So 5 for Novotny today. His team leads 8-2, and that's a tough goal for Spring Lake Park, right? I mean, they'd held this Raiders team without scores for some time. They get a goal of their own, but then less than a minute later, Roseville answers right back and pushes the lead to 6. Now Spencer is actually using his regular stick for this face-off. It didn't go well, so maybe there is something to that. Yeah. Here, Novotny gives it to the front, shot, goal. Nope. That hit the post? I thought that hit the back post and came back. I thought so too, and now they've blown the whistle, but that, I think they're going to say it is just possession for Roseville. All right. But I'm with you. I thought it hit the back of the thing. It was kind of a scoop shot because the player was falling away from the goal, but it was a really nice setup by Roseville. Novotny feeding it in. Pedersen with the awkward shot attempt, but he put it on, just not quite as cleanly as he wanted to, and missed off the side post. Curtis getting turned around there. Pedersen, you hear me oohing and ahhing. He's got some nice moves from the top. Nice quick dodges to get by defenders who just kind of rush right past him. Yeah, Parker Pedersen's the one moving on the outside, coming from the top more often than not. And Lincoln is the one who's kind of down low all the time. Here, feed to the front, shot, goal! Great passing that time by Roseville, and Bjorn Anderson finishes with the score. And I have to apologize because I keep saying Pedersen. It's Anderson who is actually the one that's initiating from the top for Roseville, obviously, number 24. And he is he's got all kinds of moves and fakes and dodges to get free, and he doesn't need much room to pull them off because he is kind of small and quick. And you just see defenders flying by, and that totally unsettles the defense, like we said, John, because once he beats that first man, he's got a step or two, and then he forces the rest of the defense to react. And this time, usually the provider, this time he finishes it. Parker Pedersen wins the draw for Roseville, so they get back on the attack. Sundeen trying to spin off the defender. They'll retreat back into the corner. 3:20 remaining here in the second quarter. Well, flag is down, so Roseville will go on the extra man in a second here. Sundeen has that pass. Eluded its intended target, able to track it down is Noah Manning. Manning under some duress from Spencer. Spencer scoops, and with control will get the whistle. And 10, again, another penalty on Ethan Ose, who at the long stick midi position, just kind of a needless penalty, right? Because Parker Pedersen wins the draw, gets it into the box, gets a touch, and passes it off. And then after he released the pass, just gets shoved to the ground. So the cross check
And they're going to call that every time. So definitely a young player mistake, but he'll learn from it.
Roseville with possession. This is Ian Macklem. Handed off, trying to get it back, but this pass off the mark. It's all the way back towards midfield. Spring Lake Park wasn't quite as close to midfield to pounce on that as I thought they might be.
Yeah, you as an attack line, you got to be right on that midfield line to try to claw that back if it's close.
Air ball towards the front. Novotny spins. His shot misses wide. Now, Bill, I haven't seen it yet, but are they allowed to reach over the midfield line, or do they have to wait for it to hit the 50?
No, they can reach over.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm even more surprised that nobody was kind of coming out, because they could have reached over and grabbed that, I think, by the time it was recovered by Roseville.
Yep. So, like in hockey, you see a lot of stick lifts as well. You have attack right there trying to reach over, and then you also have defenders trying to lift those sticks.
Gotcha. Here, pass towards the front on the move. This shot stoned.
Nice save.
Nicely done that time. As the attack by Tucker Anderson shut down by Braden Hubert. Another shot towards the front. This time a goal and a score for Spring Lake Park. Blake Lueck gets another.
Number 3.
Oh, excuse me. Henry Leff was the one who finished that play.
I thought it was Lueck as well, but they're giving the goal to Henry Leff, and Blake Lueck, and the entire attack unit for Spring Lake Park certainly knows what a goal is and how to get one, how to find the back of the net. So 2 minutes to go before half, back within 6 goals, and if Spencer can win this draw, it might.
I mean, this is one of those games where the coach is going to say, we lost this game in the first 5 minutes. They went down 5-0, and since then, it's we've been mostly at parity. Here, a shot trying to bounce it in was Owen Spencer after the draw win. He misses high.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, though, in terms of winning that quick draw, going down. I mean, Spencer should have a couple goals a game where that's what he does because he's fast. He wins the draw to himself forward a lot of times, and then he can have a step, and that's, again, an unsettled situation.
And the good news, his team did retreat, get themselves behind the goal so that when it went out of bounds, Spring Lake Park maintained possession. Pass towards the cutter, out of his reach, and it's recovered by Parker Pedersen.
Oh, nice flip.
Got it over to Carter Morgan, and on the run, Morgan carries into the offensive end. Tries to leave it back for Sundeen, but behind the intended target, goes out of bounds, Spring Lake Park ball.
John, on that end, I would have liked to have seen the Panthers not try to force that pass. It was a nice idea to cut, but you don't have to force that pass. You can wait for a better look and a better opportunity.
The sharing's right, but it did seem like kind of a long pass. You didn't necessarily need to go with that kind of distance.
It was a tough pass, and I wouldn't say that the offensive player had much of a step. The defender was right there with him. So again, that's just always going to be difficult to complete. And of course, it led to a transition opportunity. Now, Roseville didn't do anything with it, fortunately for the Panthers, but that's the kind of you just have to really value the ball, and the coaches talk about that all the time in lacrosse, and much like in basketball, got to value the rock.
Oh, sure.
And not commit sort of turnovers that of your own doing, really.
I mean, you can ask any coach in basketball, and there's a 90% chance you're going to get the same 3 keys to the game, and turnovers is always on that list.
Right.
Ball carried up the near side. This pass a little too long. Spring Lake Park unable to collect it, though, and Roseville controls once more. Noah Manning up the near side, and it's popped out of bounds. Spring Lake Park ball.
You see how his stick is on the ground. That's called a dewanding in lacrosse slang, and usually draws some oohs and ahs from the sidelines. Oh, nice pass.
20 seconds left as Spring Lake Park comes on the attack. Left hands it off in front to Lueck. His shot misses, and able to scoop it up. Panthers with another try. The shot goes wide for Walker Zeman. 7 seconds left.
Sorry, John. They've had some chances here late.
Pass to the front, deflected away, and that should just about do it. It's collected by Spring Lake Park. They'll feed it out towards the front again. And that is the end of the half. Only 4 goals in this half, or in this quarter, I should say. And Roseville continuing to dominate. They lead 9-3. We'll pause. When we come back, we'll get you set for the start of the 3rd quarter here on North Metro TV. Welcome back to Panther Stadium. At the half, 9-3 in favor of the visiting Roseville Raiders. John Head and Bill Hupp back with you as the Raiders looking for their second win of the season. Spring Lake Park, Coon Rapids seeking their first victory, and they've got a hole to climb out of after one half of play. The positive news, if you're Spring Lake Park, is that second quarter went a whole lot better than the first, Bill.
Yeah, they definitely settled into this game. I mean, if they could just erase the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, you know, this would be a game. Because since then, it's been basically 4-3 in favor of Roseville. Raiders will, despite that goal, they will start with the ball in their stick to open the second half.
Bjorn Anderson, now quick feed inside. They were looking for Novotny. Sundeen gets it on the backside. Anderson from the top and flips it over. Parker Pedersen back to Anderson. Feeds to the point. That's Carter Morgan. Looking for Novotny out towards the top. Sundeen recovers it. It's weird to see Novotny get the ball anywhere near him when he's not right up against the goal. Here, a shot and a save made. Squirts out. Novotny picks it up.
Yeah, that's one thing Spring Lake Park has to focus on in this second half, not letting Roseville have nearly as much time with the ball near the goal. Which sounds like an obvious thing to say, but, you know, it was something that really came back to bite the Panthers in the first half.
Well, here, possession will change hands as that pass goes out of bounds for Roseville. So Spring Lake Park with control.
And that's the thing, John, at the high school level. If you play defense for long enough, most teams will make a mistake eventually. Most teams are not Division I college level where they're going to pass it around for 5 minutes. So you just have to stay solid and not give up that sort of crucial goal, you know, quickly.
I really do believe that watching passing in lacrosse is probably my favorite sport to watch passing. And that sounds like a weird thing to say, but it is just right between basketball and hockey, where you do get good possession and you can maintain it if you do it well. Whereas in hockey, it's almost impossible to maintain possession for an extended period of time, no matter how good you are. And in basketball, it's almost assumed that you will do that.
Right, and obviously no icing in.
Yep.
Although if you ever see a goaltender or defender, John, take the ball and just chuck it down toward their attack,
yep,
it's called cheaping. You'll hear people yell cheap because they're just, you know, essentially doing the equivalent of icing. And that is done when, sorry, John, that's done when, obviously, when you're really having a hard time, you know,
carrying it upfield,
getting out of your zone.
Pass to the front, Sundeen shot, and that one deflects wide. I'm not sure if it actually made contact with anyone as it sails real strong out of there. Roseville brings it back in. Carter Morgan up to the top. Anderson flips it to Sundeen. Sundeen inside to Novotny. The pass out of his reach, and it's collected by Curtis.
I'd still like to see Spring Lake Park tighten up their interior defending, because Roseville's still able to pass it around the interior too easily for my liking.
Yeah, it's not just around the horn. They're going through the middle, weaving it amongst those defenders. Air ball out of bounds, and it is Spring Lake Park's possession.
And I think much like basketball, you know, in terms of pressing and pushing them out, I think SLP is just hanging back a little too much.
Roseville stealing this one away. Anderson sending it forward. A little trouble there for Manning. He recovers and heads into the offensive end. Manning still moving towards the goal. Tries to flip a cute pass off to Sundeen. Sundeen has to track that back down in the corner. Score is 9-3. It's where we began this third quarter. No scoring in the opening couple of minutes. Sundeen from behind the net. Comes out to the far side. Swings around. His shot goes wide. In the area is Lincoln Pedersen to make sure possession stays with the Raiders. See, now that's where the slide has to come and check the player coming around. If you swing, it's much like in you know, they say take the body, not the man in hockey. Okay.
The same goes for lacrosse. If you're swinging at the stick, you can move the stick and just avoid the check. But if you hit the body, then this, you know, ball's going to fall out of the stick, and that'll be good as Anderson rifles a shot over.
Yeah, Anderson got his defender off him. The stick was dropped. Now quick pass inside to Anderson. No attack. He'll try to hand it back out. Tough pass to Sundeen. He's trying to fight for it after the fact. and we'll track it down.
I will say that, you know, it could very much be a defensive plan from Coach Ian Pollard in Spring Lake Park to lay off, because as the Panthers force the turnover here. And the reason I say that is because if you press up too much and then they beat you, then again you've got that unsettled situation.
Spring Lake Park into the offensive end. So their defense has held strong so far in this third quarter. On the near side, this is Blake Lueck.
They just got to start getting some goals, try to claw their way back into this one.
Spencer from the top, coming in to help from Julian Packard-Rao. Spencer will give it over to the far side. This one bouncing away from Tucker Anderson, and it's scooped up by Roseville. Will Haug with it out on the far corner, and he loses control. Possession to Spring Lake Park.
You know, John, if you think about it, Spring Lake Park gave up 5 goals in the first 5 minutes. They've given up 4 goals in the next 2 quarters, effectively.
And they've scored 3 of their own. So again, that goes back to how close this game could be if they hadn't had those struggles at the open. Spring Lake Park coming around the near side, moving in tight. Tough shot, a lot of duress, a lot of contact, and 2 flags fly on the play. The shot doesn't go anywhere. Now a man gets knocked down. We have more flags coming for that?
Yep.
Yep.
I like Spencer operating from the X. He's one of the bigger attackers for Spring Lake Park, and he drew those defenders, like we said, and now Spring Lake Park will go on the EMO. Another flag comes down. We've got a slash.
So Tristan Chapman is sitting down.
And then a push with possession.
Bjorn Anderson is going to kneel as well, I believe. But he went over there. He hasn't taken the knee yet.
So Spring Lake Park's going to take a timeout here to try to set something up as they go on the EMO and know that they need to dent the scoreboard here in the third quarter.
Panthers scored first in the second quarter, looking to do so here in the third as well and cut into what is a 6-goal lead. They fell in the 5-0 hole. Finished the first down 7-1. They scored it again, as I said, to start the second, and then we're down 6 goals at the end of the second, just like they were at the end of the first. 9-3 still our score now.
Yeah, it's I think you and I both, you know, because what, it was 7-1 maybe at the end of the first quarter, and we just thought, oh boy, we're in for a barrage of goals in a high-scoring game. Hard to believe that we're midway through the third quarter now, and it's 9-3.
Correct, yeah. I would have thought Roseville would have been a double digits eons ago. Instead, A.J. Hoffman's squad meeting in the huddle right now to talk about defense, because they are in a bit of a pickle with what Spring Lake Park is going to have on the field.
Well, and I think it's typical, you know, because high school kids are still learning the sport and stuff, but you see a lot of needless penalties, I'll say. You know, far away from the goal where it's not harmful. There's no need to commit a penalty this close to the sideline when the flag's already down. But that's actually something that you see in lacrosse a lot, John, is frustration penalties. So a kid, you know, and the ref yells flag down when they throw it. So kids very often, players I should say, I should generalize, players very often will like commit a slashing penalty or a cross-checking penalty, and then they'll compound it out of frustration when they hear flag down. So it's a very interesting, just something you see a lot of in lacrosse.
Now for all those flags, only one man is taking a knee for Roseville.
Yeah, so, well, what's interesting is they came out at multiple times as Anderson's going to go in, and what he'll do is he'll line up in the attack role so that he can run from that angle instead of from the box.
Okay.
And so
here we go. Second man kneeling down is Lincoln Pedersen.
Okay, yeah. So they're going to have Pedersen, and when Pedersen's penalty releases, he'll go rejoin the attack role, and Anderson will go in and become, you know, play that midfielder role because he plays obviously both offense and defense. Oh, good cut.
Here, ball controlled at the top, handed off. Now feed to the front, quick shot in the goal. Lueck right on the doorstep, and he slams that one in on a good feed from Leighton Long.
Beautiful find, good patience, and they struck quickly on that EMO, so whatever Coach Pollard drew up in the huddle seemed to work. Lueck right on the doorstep. They passed it right through the crease. Sometimes you see goalies intercept that pass if they read it, but it's obviously the way they pinged that ball around, very little that Braden Hubert, I should say, could do about it. And for Lueck, goal number, is that his first today?
Nope, that's two for Lueck today, and Spring Lake Park has scored 3 of the last 5 goals in this game.
Yeah, so. And it's a game of runs, and it starts right here with winning the faceoff. And really, when Spencer has lost the faceoff today, it's because of an infraction committed.
Roseville from the point, with it is Ian Malcolm. Macklin looking around. There's a ton of space for him.
1-4 flat with a man behind.
Pass out to the top, Sundeen. And they try to set him up a lot, run him around a lot, heavily used. Bjorn Anderson gives to the point. This is Carter Morgan. Cutting back and forth. Now Morgan gets around his defender, being hooked from behind a bit, passes it off from the middle. This shot stopped by a defender in front as the attempt by Macklin never made it in.
Panthers defense not even really allowing quality looks in this second half. It's really tightened up whatever was said at halftime.
Wild pass. Novotny gives chase. He won't get there in time. And again, that's on a pass, not a shot. So out of bounds off of Roseville.
That's what makes me think that, you know, as good as Roseville is offensively, when you give them the chance, Spring Lake Park just tightening things up defensively, sorting out their communication, really made a difference. As we said, Lacrosse is a game of runs, of course, and Panthers have the ball, having scored the only goal of the second half, and just as I say that,
Chris
throw it
Curtis,
away.
yeah, passed a little too tall that time, so goes out. Possession to the Raiders.
I'm not saying something with a 6-foot pole.
So Raiders haven't scored since there was 3:40 left in the second quarter. With halftime in there as well, it feels like it's been a long time. Raiders on the charge. Pass up to Bjorn Anderson. His shot good for a goal. Anderson with his second of the day, and he kind of snuck it inside that near post.
I believe that's 2 straight for Bjorn Anderson. And yeah, Curtis, I think, would like to have that one back. 5 minutes to go in the third quarter, though. Still plenty of time, trailing by 6 goals now.
So we said it had been a while, but the goal comes with just over 5 minutes to go and into double digits. And go the Roseville Raiders. They lead 10-4.
Nearly at their season average of 11 goals a game now.
Now, they lost their opening game at Eastridge 13-11. They won more recently against Moundsview 11-10. That was on Friday. One of the most unique things about the COVID-shortened schedules is that everyone just plays on the same day. And there's not much variety out there. In fact, here, this ball trickling in. It's good for a goal. Not necessarily how they drew it up, but it works. A score for Spring Lake Park.
Spring Lake Park.
I mean, it fell out of, I think that's left. Tucker Anderson, I believe, is the one who's going to get credit for it, actually. Or are they going to say it's not a goal?
Looked like it went in there.
It certainly did. I'm not sure if they're going to say he was in the crease, which would negate the goal.
That's what's happening. There is no goal on that play. We stay at 10-4.
Yeah, left lost it, and it looked like it kind of trickled over the line, but obviously they had judged he was in the crease. That would have been a big goal for the Panthers.
Raiders with control. Now, this game against Roseville almost feels strange because we've seen Spring Lake Park play with the same Northwest Suburban opponents all the time. And here they take on a Suburban East squad. Carter Morgan trying to charge in. Now gives a pass to Novotny right in front. He'll shoot and score. No trouble, but a flag comes after the goal. It's 11-4.
Yeah, he takes a big check.
Number 11.
And flags waved off with that goal, but sometimes that's the thing about sport of lacrosse, especially if you're around the goal with the stick fakes, eventually the defender catches up to you and you can get some serious punishment delivered as you score. But when you score, it seems to be all worth it. Novotny's now got 5 or 6, right?
I think it's 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 tonight for Novotny.
Oh,
so
the double hat trick. That does wonders for the season, for the old statistics. Yeah, the lack of non-conference games this year has been interesting. Has been too bad.
Here, a shot in this one deflected wide. Spring Lake Park regathers, having some trouble. And again, for this Panthers team, they've had a goal here and there. They've stifled Roseville much better, but they've never been able to really tighten things up. They've continued to trail by 5 to 7 scores this entire time.
Yeah, well, they just are not kind of potent enough offensively, I think, is what it comes down to. But they have tightened up defensively, and they've kept it, manageable, but they just haven't gotten enough. And they haven't gotten a run, right? It seems like every time they get a goal, Roseville answers. And that's obviously makes it difficult to come back.
Spencer sends it right towards the front. Now a little quick shot, and that one stopped up by the legs, and I'm not even sure the goaltender saw that attempt from Dean Romaker, but Braden Hubert with the stop.
I like the cleverness of Romaker to sort of shovel it, shovel shot it, and not a bad idea when you're sort of back as to goal like that.
This ball picked up by Garrett Marr. Marr spinning around the near side. Gives it off to Sundeen. Trouble receiving that pass, and it's knocked the other way. Spring Lake Park gets clean control. Nice job to get around 2 defenders and push into the offensive end. Dean Romaker once again.
Swim dodge there to get past. I mean, ultimately the defender recovered.
Now the ball turned over by Spring Lake Park, sent forward by Will Hogg's long stick, and this one out of bounds off of Colin Sundeen. Sundeen, who was so strong early on, has had a couple of issues receiving passes. Now, not all of them have been perfect passes, but that's one of the things that we complimented Roseville on so often in those first 5 minutes when they ran up a 5-0 lead, was their passing, and that has dwindled as the game has gone on, and the teams have looked more and more at parity.
Yeah, definitely, and you wonder if it's an effect of the cold, as SLP and Leighton Long, senior attack, is sitting in the box. EMO for Roseville, and this time they'll start it from X.
Ball sent out towards the top, and this one will roll nearly to midfield. Able to track it down is Parker Pedersen.
Again, I'm just not sure why their attack is sitting so deep, except if they're trying to, prepare for a transition opportunity or something.
We haven't seen a lot of long passes at any point, and to me, you would almost set yourself up better for a long pass by breaking from the midfield stripe towards the goal instead of just waiting there with the defender on your hip.
Yeah, and you don't have to do with the equivalent of a stretch pass in hockey.
Ball given out towards the top. Parker Pedersen to Bjorn Anderson. Anderson doing a lot more moving in this second half, which is saying something.
You just called it. Sundeen went to shoot it before he fully had control, but it was a great look by Anderson.
Anderson now coming in himself, switches hands and gets a shot away. It's wildly off the mark, but that was a neat move to start.
Yeah, like I said, Anderson maybe has the best stick skills of anyone on the field tonight, and he's certainly showing it. And if you have a player with the creativity and skill of Anderson, why not use him in as many roles offensively as possible?
Under a minute to go in this third quarter. Spring Lake Park with possession, coming in from the far side with control is Dean Romaker.
Seems like Anderson's hardly come off the field today.
Romaker charging ahead. This ball knocked away as the stick knocked out as well. Pass towards the front. That's a tough pass into a double team. It's knocked away from Lincoln Pedersen.
Well, Spencer employing the swim move that didn't work, and
he lost the ball along the way.
Failure to advance, probably. Nope. Looks like it's gonna stay with Spring Lake Park.
So contact on that play, and now here's Spencer again. Spencer has his pocket picked. Nicely done defensively that time by Ian Macklem. Spring Lake Park gets it back. They'll try to play forward. Knocked away, loose on the ground. And nobody scooping up this ground ball early. Well, guess who? Able to come up with it is Bjorn Anderson.
And he decided to shoot for some reason.
Midfield shot, a little NBA Jam type play.
Oh, that was practically from his own box. I guess it was short time, in fairness to him.
We are
Take that back.
Yeah, we are done with the third quarter. It is an 11-4 game in favor of the Roseville Raiders. One more quarter to play. We'll pause and then come back for the start of the fourth here on North Metro TV.
Roll over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
The past comes alive at North Metro TV, where we can help you transfer your old videotapes, films, cassette tapes, record albums, and even photographs and slides to DVD and digital so you can enjoy them again. North Metro TV, bringing the past to life.
3 quarters in the books. We start the fourth with the visiting Roseville Raiders on top 11-4 of Spring Lake Park Coon Rapids. John Haddon, Bill Hupp back with you. And the lights now doing most of the work here. It's been kind of overcast, but we had some bright cloudy skies, if you will, early on. Just feels nice that there's any light still coming out at this point as we get closer and closer to summer.
I was kind of expecting rain today. I'm glad the rain held off.
Yeah, everyone's prepared for it, and I mean, people are dressed like it is winter out, and rightfully so. It's chilly. I think this might be one of the last really cold games of the year. But fingers crossed that we can have some more comfortable weather for the remainder of the spring season.
I do feel like lacrosse in the cold is a little easier than, say, softball or baseball in the cold.
You don't get that sting in your hands when your
stick
gets knocked out the way it does when you make contact with the ball?
No, it's easier to catch anyway.
I suppose you got the gloves on. These gloves are pretty solid. Anderson giving it ahead. Parker Pedersen to the front. Novotny trying to get a hold of it, having some trouble. It's knocked around and then booted out of there. Anderson gets it at the top. He's swarmed by Panther players and retreats, but still maintains possession.
He's dangerous to follow him that far out there like Walker Zeman did, but now he retreats back as he's going to just let his team get organized. And Roseville, really, once you're, up this much, you can afford to be extra patient to the point where the refs actually will tell you to keep it in the box.
Yep.
At a certain point.
Colin Sundeen, now this is Parker Pedersen coming around behind the goal. This ball sent towards the top, knocked away, and a good interception by Lueck. Lueck sends it ahead, wide open man in front, wind up in a shot, that one goes wide. Missed that time for Graham Trock Fowler. And that's kind of the play that Spring Lake Park's been looking for all night, and they're unable to connect on it.
Yeah, that's those kind of unsettled situations that we've talked about so much tonight. Have to take advantage and strike while the proverbial iron is hot if you're the Panthers.
And you just talked about it with Roseville. They're in no hurry, so you might have limited possession opportunities if you're Spring Lake Park.
Yeah, I don't mind the shot. Just good hustle play by the goaltender to get there ahead of any Panther.
Bjorn Anderson acting like this game is tied. He drives in real aggressive and then misses with his shot.
Seems like one of those players that doesn't know how to play any other speed.
Bjorn Anderson on the drive again, pushing right into the defender, gives it in front. Novotny's shot deflected away, and one ends up wide out towards the far corner.
I just don't know how that pass gets down there. I mean, I know he didn't even have to draw a slide right there. He just was able to connect, and credit to his vision, but that pass should never connect.
Here, another shot from Novotny. That one misses. It felt like Novotny couldn't be stopped at the early parts of this game. Now he's still gotten a couple more goals as time has gone on, but he has proven to be human throughout the course of the night. Here's Sundeen at the point.
Yeah, Novotny had a blistering start. So did Sundeen.
Bjorn Anderson over to Novotny once more. He can't collect it. Loose out there and a flag comes.
Couple flags down, and again on the crease, especially when there's a loose ball and players are whacking at it, all these kind of things can happen.
We keep watching Bjorn Anderson. I'm curious, most lacrosse players play at least one other sport, and Anderson is one of the shortest guys on the field, and he strikes me as a wrestler with his body type, to be honest.
Could be, yeah, certainly. That's the kind of the beauty of lacrosse is little guys have been some of the most successful players in the game, just because of the quickness. If you're quick and you have enough athleticism and enough hand-eye coordination, you can easily have success in this game.
And so I was probably a football player as well, would be my guess for Bjorn Anderson. But man, he has impressed throughout the course of the night.
Yeah, just his vision and his creativity and the fact that, yeah, he keeps on attacking. And so now the Panthers with a really important clearance. Under 10 minutes to play.
Spring Lake Park sending it up the far sideline. Good pass and a good receive. Dean Romaker has it. Gets into the offensive end, still charging. Winds up and takes the shot, misses wide. And that one kind of sailing upwards as well.
Yeah, Romaker's been pretty impressive tonight in terms of helping the clearance, but not only do you have to have someone back there for coverage on those long shots, but sometimes if you're, an offensive player, you choose not to take those shots because you know there's no one back to cover. So sometimes you think better of it. Now the strategy here when you've got the extra man is to double the ball and try to force the turnover. So what you do from a lacrosse standpoint is you get it in the hands of your best stick handler and then let him go to work. And then it literally just runs around.
Now that's Spencer.
So in this case for Coon, for SLP, obviously that's Spencer.
Owen Spencer pushes to the front. Ball pops out. He sends it down to the near side, finds a man, and we get a whistle.
And I believe he fell into the crease.
Action in the crease, yeah.
So Roseville, so he might claim that he was pushed in the crease, but. Oh, good strip from behind.
Spring Lake Park has control. They lose it momentarily. Scooped up by Romaker. He loses it. Parker Pedersen and for Roseville, sending it forward. Sundeen can't collect that one at all. Kind of short hopped on him. And ball out of bounds. Panther possession.
Yeah, lacrosse, and this is, it has some similarities to soccer, and sort of the changing of possession in the midfield can be one of those ways. Like soccer, where both teams are just looking to get a foothold and then possess a little bit.
Left sending it forward. Now good find to the cutter. This is Tucker Anderson, who can't collect the ball off the pass.
Basics, John, basics. I mean, you have to hit that cutter. And that guy was streaking toward the goal. I believe it was Tucker Anderson, and the pass just missed him, just sailed on him.
This ball bounces away. I was talking about how enjoyable it is to watch a good passing team in lacrosse. And one of the things, and you don't see it in game action, but one of the more beautiful things for me in sports is to watch infield, outfield before a baseball game. And you watch those guys whip it around the horn and the fluidity that they have. And a good passing lacrosse team can look like that in game.
Yeah, no question about it.
And so we kind of saw some of that early from Roseville. They look like, throughout the night they've been the superior passing team. But as we've talked about, their start was really what drew all the attention. And they've kind of just maintained since then and played at the same level as Spring Lake Park.
Well, it's one of the reasons they've implemented a shot clock in college lacrosse, is because those guys, especially at the Division I, and the 2-3 level too, those are really, really good lacrosse players as well. They can just pass it around until the cows come home. So if they keep winning faceoffs and pass it around, there's not a ton of action, and they don't turn it over very much. So you have one team that just passes it around and milks a lead. Look at that, cows and milks in the same paragraph. Am I professional or what?
Ball control by the gentleman in black and white. On the attack, charging forward, Garrett Marr, and the shot goes in, a goal for Marr. Again, we haven't had much scoring lately. In fact, that's the first of the fourth.
Yeah, and Marr got a step, got by his defender, and a couple steps, no slide came, so he thought, well, why not? I'll shoot it. Bounce shot, beat Curtis, who's been better after having a shaky start, but let that one get through. Still, again, we're almost midway through the fourth quarter, and that's the first goal. So,
well, we've been just having, you know, our scoring descend throughout the course of the game. 8 goals in the first quarter, 4 goals in the second quarter, 3 goals in the third quarter, and that's our first of the fourth. So what we thought was going to be a 20-10 game after the first 5 minutes, as right now has us sitting at 12-4.
And Spencer has not nearly been as dominant at the face-off spot as he had the first quarter and a half, I would say. Peterson wins that one for Roseville. It's been much more even.
So here Roseville on the attack. Sundeen gets a hold of it. It's interesting to see the game change that much, to have those 5 minutes be such an outlier compared to the rest of the game in almost every aspect.
Rung the post there from Sundeen. Yeah. No, it can really, and that's the game of runs part, especially if you have teams that are scoring in transition. It can get away from you really quickly, but that's one of the more exciting aspects of lacrosse too, is it allows for really big comebacks. If teams can start winning face-offs and converting those opportunities, you kind of get the feeling that, you know, as long as you can get that ball, you're never really out of it.
Marr just got one. Looks like he wants to attack for more. This time he'll peel back and pass it over to Macklem. And Macklem surveys his options.
Wonder if Anderson's night will be done now.
Nice move. Macklem gives it off. Quick passing. They want to get back to Marr at the top. Novotny towards the front of the net, now gets a hold of it, tries a shot from a little more distance than he has earlier tonight, and shot knocked down by the defense. Spencer with speed into the offensive end. Fakes out a man, lost the ball along the way. That wide stroke on the swim move.
I think they're going to get one of the players for a slash trying to get it from Spencer. And that's the danger when you throw those one-handed wrap checks, is what they're called, when you're sort of, you know, running side by side with someone running down the field. Coaches hate those because they very often result in slashing penalties. But it's kind of when you know you're beat and you're just trying to get the ball by any means necessary.
Spring Lake Park Coon Rapids with control, down 12-4, getting towards the end stages of this game. Pass towards the middle, and that one intercepted by the goaltender. Nice job tonight by Braden Hubert. As he talked about, didn't come into the season planning to play a ton of goaltender, and he's gotten the job done in this one.
Yeah, no, he's been solid. He's made the plays he's had to make, and I wasn't sure if, initially I thought that might have been a shot from Lueck, but yeah, I think you're right. He was trying to pass it across to his fellow attackman on the doorstep, and just well read by Hubert, looking like the midfielder he is. And now you'll see Spring Lake Park doubling the ball, and of course Anderson on the field, and that's exactly, if you're Roseville, who you want with the ball in your stick.
Anderson moving up the near sideline, feeling a little bit of pressure, peels out.
Now it's kind of like a casual double here. I'm not sure what they're waiting for with the long stick, but
Marr takes the shot, and he's got himself a goal. Check that, that's Peterson, Parker Pedersen with the score, and Roseville back on the board. Baker's dozen for them tonight. It's 13-4.
Super tough to stop that shot when a player can, like that, Peterson can get his hands free and step into a shot like that. It's just Katie bar to the door at that point. And again, Anderson drawing the slide, finding the open man, and SLP's defense in this case just not reacting quickly enough and stepping to the shooter.
So Roseville scored the first 5 goals of this game. They've scored the last 4 as well. We're running out of time here. 3:42 remaining as another faceoff comes. between Spencer and the most recent goal scorer, Parker Pedersen.
And this is what we're talking about with game of runs, right? Roseville's gone on a couple tonight, and hence their 9-goal advantage. And again, they win another face-off, so.
Roseville has, all but equalized in that area. Spencer, after getting the ground ball, loses control. Back on the attack, Parker Pedersen takes the shot. Goal! Back-to-back goals for Parker Pedersen.
And this one was lefty. I talked about getting on the wall and the importance of developing your right and your left hand. First goal he scored, or the goal he scored about 30 seconds ago, was with the right hand. This one was with the left hand. Ripped the back of the net either way. So Parker Pedersen having himself a fourth quarter.
Goals coming 26 seconds apart. Nicely done. And there it is. The last 5 goals have now been scored.
So the story of this game, John, right? A couple of 5-goal runs, the beginning and end of the game, is ultimately what's really been the difference. If you really wanted to boil it down.
Oh, for sure. That jump start today, there's no doubt about that being the difference. What's happened here at the end, kind of an exclamation point to the win after Spring Lake Park had kind of tightened things up for 2 quarters. Maybe, you want to break it up. It's the last half of the first quarter and the first half of the second quarter, right? So, almost 3 quarters of this game, Spring Lake Park played even with Roseville. But you take that first half of the first quarter and the last half of the fourth quarter, absolute dominance by Roseville during those time periods.
Yeah, and in different ways. This time they've done it more after they've won draws, and then they've done it more from the offensive zone sets and patiently working it around, scoring like they did there.
Nicely done. First goal of the game for Jonah Hamilton. The senior gets the score with just 2:33 remaining.
Yeah, and the point I was trying to make, long-windedly, was in the first quarter, all those goals were in transition, seemingly. And they all came from their attackmen right on the doorstep, whereas now they're shooting from distance and beating the goaltender that way, and scoring from their half-field sets, from their offensive zone sets.
Highest scoring game of the season for the Raiders. They scored exactly 11 goals in each of their first 2 games, 1 a win, 1 a loss. And tonight, 15 on the board so far. Also their best defensive effort, as they had allowed double-digit scores in each of the first 2 games. Spring Lake Park able to force a turnover. On the run for the Panthers. That's Ethan Ose. Ball given towards the front, and it's lost out.
Hubert has done that several times tonight. Been aware of who was around, and then hustled and gotten his stick out first. That's why you see the goaltenders running with the stick extended, and that's one of the things the ref has to adjudge.
Well, he's going to try and carry it up himself. Remember, he doesn't always play goaltender. Here he gets and rocked to the ground. Teammates come to collect it, and he'll be able to retreat back towards the goal.
It's the kind of thing you only do when you're up 11 goals.
Well, he's got some speed. You were just talking about his move to get back there, and I think, to me, that might be one of those plays where when you watch someone play goaltender all the time, you're like, well, if I ever did it, I would be really good at this. I'd be aggressive at going behind the net to make sure that we kept possession or got possession of the ball. And he's done a great job of it tonight. Here's a shot from in close. Curtis able to stand tall. I think that might have gotten the post as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. But it's also a reaction thing, right? Because the shot whizzes by, and you've got to be on your horse right away in order to get possession for your team. But it can earn you huge respect from your teammates when you're trailing and you're trying to come back, and you earn possession because of it's a pure hustle play.
For sure. I would think just as impressive when you're up, that you're still giving that kind of effort, and we've seen that from him tonight. Spring Lake Park Coon Rapids working it around the outside. Lueck gives it behind the net. A little trouble controlling there, but Josh Oman able to get a hold of it. Back out to Lueck, now to the point. And this is Ose. Ose to Spencer. 45 seconds left in this game. Spencer spinning with it. will hand it off. Lueck, not shy, wanted to shoot. He held off. Now, giving it off. Quick turnaround shot. Had a good look to it for Leighton Long. Would have made a nice poster, but he couldn't get it past the goaltender. Another save for Braden Hubert. Panthers chasing after this loose ball. Hubert able to get there first. He'll whip it upfield. Didn't look like he had anyone in particular, but able to find it ahead is Novotny.
That's what I was talking about earlier with that cheap.
Ball lost towards the back edge. Pedersen goes flying. And we'll just wait for these final 4 seconds to tick off the clock here in the fourth quarter. Nice road win for Roseville tonight. The Raiders victorious 15-4 over Spring Lake Park. Roseville improves to 2-1. Spring Lake Park drops to 0-3. I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. For our entire North Metro TV crew, including my broadcast partner Bill Hupp, I'm John Haddon, saying so long from Spring Lake Park, where the Raiders again win 15-4.